Hello, it's Peter here, and this little video is some 3 top tips for when you go for your vaccination. It's vaccination season again, but you could also use some of these top tips for other medical procedures, such as having bloods taken. So we're going to look at 3 techniques that you could do while you're on your way, maybe while you're queuing, and maybe during the vaccination process itself. Okay, the goal is to stay stress free, but you could also share these techniques with other people. So here we go. So the background, of course, for needle anxiety is very interesting, and there's some interesting facts out there in terms of what that might mean. I mean, none of us really like the idea of having an injection. So, we all have a degree of needle anxiety, but they say that debilitating needle anxiety occurs in about 10% of the population. And really, it's around that sort of feeling anxious, feeling stressed, feeling worried around the needle experience. Of course, a smaller number of people experience profound phobias to needles, and that could actually result in them actually fainting. So that's a really challenging state. And of course, you need to let your therapist or your practitioner or your healthcare person know that you are anxious about needles, or indeed the sight of needles might trigger a faint, because of course they would need you to be sat down or laid down if that's the case, and to practice some of these techniques in order to stay calm during the procedure. Context is everything. And for a couple of years, I was a vaccinator during the COVID period, and I met lots of people who had tattoos and piercings, etc. But actually, when they were coming for their vaccinations, it was the medical needles that was the trigger. So don't assume because someone's got tattoos and piercings that they might not be, they may be needle anxious. So the interesting thing about medical procedures is that there's an anxiety around it. Then each and every time you have a procedure done, there's a risk that people will become more and more triggered. And what our goal is in learning these techniques is to downregulate the stress response and to feel confident and calm when going through these procedures. So it's a way of actually letting go of that needle anxiety and moving through the procedure. A useful little tip, of course, is to say to someone during any medical procedures is to think of the idea of leaving the clinic and doing something else. So forward pacing to the future in terms of seeing this as just a moment in time and using a technique to calm during the procedure. So my number 1 top tip, very simple, because it's portable. You've got fingers. So all you need to do is to take your thumb and first finger together and to take a comfy breath in. And you could do this while you're waiting for the vaccination or the medical procedure, and you can do it during the procedure because obviously they only need one arm. So the theory behind it is that we have little areas on our thumb which are classic acupressure points, but we also have areas that are classic reflexology points where the sort of parts of the brain are mapped, and when certain parts of the endocrine system are mapped. And so what you're doing by applying pressure is gently calming down, regulating that stressful response. So I'd invite you to bring your thumb and first finger together. We call it the mudras position. It's often used in dancing. So take a comfy breath in, apply pressure, and then with the breath out, release that pressure. So you've still got the contact. And then when you're ready to go again, breath in and then release. And you can count up 1 and 2 and 3. Counting up itself is very calming. So here we go again. Breath in, apply pressure. And then breathe out, elongating that out breath and release the tension. So it's also often known as a sort of a boosting of confidence little technique. So you could do it very, very discreetly. So yes, I've got this up to the camera, but you could just place your hand on your lap and just work that point very discreetly and calmly, or very demurely, as they say on TikTok. So when we're ready to go again, let's do one more breath in and release the breath. Lovely. So that's my number one top tip. Portable. You don't need anything extra. My next top tip is simply using your feet to calm. So this incorporates using muscles of the calves in order to release tension. So when we're stressed, we have a surge of things like noradrenaline, adrenaline, and we want to run away or maybe even take up a fighting position. But in this context, we're thinking about disseminating that noradrenaline and adrenaline through actual muscle movement. So what you're doing is you're tightening the calf muscles with the breath and then releasing it with the out breath. So it's a simple movement of drawing the toes towards you, taking a comfortable breath in, and then as you breathe out, release and soften those points. So very easy to do. If you're sat waiting for a vaccination or on a couch, you can simply activate those muscles of the calves, taking a comfortable breath in. And then as you breathe out, release and soften. So we'll just do a couple more. Breath in, draw your feet towards you, breath in. Release, let go of all the tension. And again, breath in and release, let go of all the tension. So my third top tip technique is to use a sort of calming breath combined with aromas. Now, if you've got a friendly aromatherapist, they might provide you with an aroma stick, which is just a wick that's been soaked with essential oils. And alternatively, you could use just a little bit of a tissue with a spray of perfume, perhaps with scents that are citrusy. Citrus is really good because the smell of things like lemon, mandarin, or lime activates the parasympathetic nervous system, triggers off some saliva, keeps your mouth nice and moist, and sends a signal to the brain that things are calm and comfortable. So when we're scared, we get a dry mouth. But when we're calm and comfortable with friends, having a nice meal, etc., we've got saliva flowing and it's lovely and comfortable in your mouth. So the goal is to use aromas. You can even use the memory of an aroma. So, the smell of flowers, the smell of a lemon that you've sliced. So we're just going to do 3 comfy breaths with an aroma stick. So I'm just taking it under my nose, taking a comfortable breath in. Notice all those subtle aromas, and then breathe out that lovely elongated breath. Breath in and release, letting go of all the tension, noticing your shoulders drift down, drift down, drift down. Third one, breath in and release and let go of all the tension. Sometimes people who do perfume give you little perfume sticks. This has got a bit of mandarin on. So I'm doing a similar thing. I'm just taking a lovely smell. But again, you could just apply some lovely citrusy perfume to a tissue, just banishing that dry mouth and supporting feelings of calm and comfort. So they're my top tips today during this vaccination season. And I'm just going to identify a few resources. You might want to look at some of my other videos on this site. We've also published various papers. So there's a couple here just to get you going if you're a therapist or a healthcare professional and you're interested in following up our work. Lovely to meet you. Go forth, receive your vaccination, boost your immunity. Take care. Bye for now.